Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Shaking my head, y'all, and ring the bell. There it is, the bell of purpose. Why am I shaking my head? Lord have mercy. Look, went to the health club this morning, but it was a test. Let me tell you. Okay, here's what happened. This hat that I have on my head, I got it out of the shop at the health club when I was on my way out. And the woman started talking to me about last week with my leg and all that, the one behind the counter. So next thing you know, she's giving me my health club card back. I get in the car. I take the hat I have off and throw it on the seat. And I look and there's two hats on the seat. I'm like, oh my Lord, I just shoplifted. And I'll be honest with you, for that split second was, well, didn't no bells go off. Nobody came chasing me. I'm all the way across the parking lot and it's cold. Maybe I'll just take it back tomorrow. So some said, for real, Lauren, I got pulled the car up. Okay, because I was in the car. I didn't have to walk back. I pulled the car up to the little, overhang, went in, and then I realized they really do have those things. like at the store that you walk through, but wasn't a thing on the hat though, right? So I give her it back. I go to the grocery store. I'm in the grocery store for 40 minutes. And the grocery store said, "Where's my phone?" I said, "Oh, must be in the car." Got back to the car, no phone. I didn't realize it till I was pulling into the garage that I didn't check the car. Then I looked, it wasn't there. I backed up, never even came in, went all the way back to the health club. Right when I walked in the door, a lady was handing my phone to the lady behind the counter. And I was like, see, when you stay inside integrity, integrity stays inside of you. And I'm going to tell you something. If I had just said, oh, well, you know what I mean, I probably wouldn't have seen my phone. Somebody that would have kept it or whatever. I'm just telling you, I know those tests, those little tests are big things. Watch. Okay, so listen, always do your best as the four agreements. Good morning. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Storm Michaels Harris, and it's a wonderful day. It really is in the neighborhood. Welcome to the 18th day of January, enero for you Spaniards or Spanish-speaking people. Yeah. How are you I ask you guys at least once a week and have since the first of the year, where are you when it comes to being in alignment with the covenant that you have created with yourself and what you believe to be greater than you as far as how you're going to run things this year, how you're going to change things for the better this year. On all of that, statistics say that most people abandon their quote unquote New Year's resolutions by the 15th of February. So you still have some time to right the ship, if you know what I mean. And you know what? It's a personal choice, but I don't believe in those New Year's resolutions. But I do believe in setting intentions. Set the intention. Pull the arrow back in the bow and let it fly. Sending the intention is part 2. Setting the intention is part 1. Think about that. Can I get an amen? So, listen. A lot of these things, like back when I was in the midst of my drama, which was just me, I used to call it the Helen Keller method, just feeling my way through things that I didn't have any kind of definition for, if you know what I mean. Primarily, I'm speaking to when I was living inside of mental illness and didn't even know that I was. I'd heard the little acronyms, PTSD, OCD, ADHD, and LMNOP. But it's like when you read one of those Ludlum novels. He has a million acronyms. I didn't know what half of them meant, right? So it didn't really matter. But then when I did find out, I had a choice of, was I going to carry it as a badge of shame, or was I going to find the courage to try to understand what it truly was for me? And so today, that's what we're going to talk about. We got some people, remember a few months ago, and I've been running the commercials. Remember Amity, the social media platform is like a Facebook, Twitter, whatever you want it to be, social media platform for people that can own their mental illness. And, because listen, mental illness is what is the balancing part of mental wellness, right? So I don't care who you are. I think every single one of us falls into this category in one way or another. And we need to talk about it more so that we can acknowledge it, own it, and use the power. It is a gift. I'm telling you that. I know that to be true. And we're going to find out today from some people and from you. This is a safe space. I was just going ahead and looking at I had some private chats. You guys are good in the green room. So I told you guys when it happened, if you remember, Amity. I went in and I had made a commercial for them. And I was like, well, I'm going to go in and check it out. They asked me to, so I could give them my opinion. And I really thought I was just going to go in. I wasn't going to put a picture on the profile. I wasn't going to fill out a whole bunch of about. And I certainly wasn't going to scroll down and watch and like and all that, which on there, well, we'll get into that. But anyway, it's never about just one thing. And when I went in, I was grabbed by the collar of my spirit and yanked into a world that I'm so grateful that I found. And I hope I never unfind it. Is that a thing? Huh, I might have just made up a word. So anyway, won't be the first time. So anyway, I wanted to get some of the story in here today for all of us. I want you guys to get over and check it out for yourself. The social proof is out there, and I always wait. I'll tell you about it. I'll whisper it to you, but until I really know for myself and experience something that's different than anything I've ever experienced, I kind of keep it on a thumb drive. But now this is on a hard drive. It's on the place going to come out the kitchen for y'all today. I'm going to scoot it across the table to you. I want you to take a look at it. Back the car up. I guarantee you there's something in here for each and every one of us if you are open. Before I bring the guest in today, though, I thought we'd take a little look at what's out there. I found this and I really like it. It's just a little short 2-minute thing about mental health awareness. And believe it or not, it's done by the people over at Comic Relief. I know, right? Who knew the two could even go together? Take a look.
I suffer with panic disorder,
post-traumatic stress,
obsessive compulsive disorder, postpartum psychosis,
history of depression. I'm diagnosed schizophrenic.
I've been bereaved by suicide.
I was actually diagnosed at the age of 15 or 14, even I can't remember the exact age, as being bipolar.
It's like this little bad seed that it gets planted in you in a very young age.
Now, this is the UK.
I'd never had any history of mental illness, so it was really scary.
It kind of grows and grows, and then before you know it, you're like living in a shame jungle, and you have to like really hack your way out.
I just felt like this is it. It's coming. It's like a drain. It's coming, and it's going to hit me right in the face, and it did.
Affects your ability to deal with situations rationally. So you end up crying because you burnt toast.
I learned how to smile when my kids were around. But the second they went to bed, I fell apart.
Being in a crowd with your friends and still feeling alone.
Felt like I was kind of on the outside looking in at chaos.
And desperately disconnected from everything that seems to be good and meaningful in your life.
Never have anything to live for when you're truly depressed. That's part of what this problem is. You can't see any light.
A nightmare.
Just really nice, warm, happy people who make me feel better about the world in general.
It felt like a kind of dimly lit room had suddenly become illuminated.
They really gave me the fuel to keep going and to believe in myself.
Too often people suffer in silence, die in silence, live in silence, and it doesn't have to be that way.
A huge part of my recovery has been realizing that actually I'm not going to recover.
There's still moments of low mood, and there's still just like a dull thud in my head.
You can't get over it ultimately. You live with it, you manage it, you treat it, you hope.
For the most part, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm surrounding myself with lovely friends.
Just knowing that I'll be able to cope and manage whatever does come up, because life has a way of kind of tripping you up. So, but I feel more confident now that I'm not going to like fall down and never be able to get back up.
Wow. So, pretty interesting. Welcome, everyone. Put some hearts on the screen. Our guests are here. Mark Haddis and Carl Magellan. Did I say your last name right, Carl?
Absolutely, sir.
Wow, that's a famous name, Magellan.
It is.
It is. Well, I'm glad you're here. Mark's in the Chicagoland area, Naperville, here where I live. And Carl, tell everybody where you're at in the world.
Country-wise, Brazil, but more specifically the north east of Brazil, in a very, very small town in the state of Bahia.
Wow. Is that where you were born and raised?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, we're glad you're here. You know, we just saw something from the UK. I liked it. That's why I chose it, even though it was the UK, because the people are people, and mental health has no borders. Mental wellness has no borders. And it's just nice to see that all of us in the world, we're more similar than we are different, no matter where we originate from. So, Mark, tell everybody, what it is you do with Journey's Dream and Amity, and then we'll go over to Carl, and then we'll get this party started. and why you're here today. We'll talk about all that. So go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here with you guys. Journey's Dream is a place that really helps people find their path to sustained mental health. And just over a year ago, we had an idea of creating an online community that was a little different than what we had been seeing out in social media, which was really divided and not very friendly, honestly, always to this kind of thing. So we wanted a place that would feel very safe, that would be rich in terms of the humanity and support people wherever they are in understanding more about what it is that they might be going through, but do so in a community of others that have kind of been down the road, have gone through the process, to various degrees. So Amity was born and is relatively new, but it's kind of caught some people by surprise. As you said, Lauren, you went in kind of not expecting to stick around, and yet there you were, putting your picture and posting a video, and then some magic happened, which I won't spoil the magic because that's for you guys to tell. But it's a really cool place to learn, connect, and understand who it is that collectively we are around the globe, independent of any label. It's really about bringing out the best of the essence of who we are.
Absolutely. And so thank you for that. So Carl Magellan from Brazil, go ahead and say hello and tell us a little bit about what Amity has meant or means to you now. How did you find it?
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me over. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with two people whom I deeply respect and admire, Mark and Lauren. Amity, how can I get started? Amity was for me, as well as Journey Stream, like a lifeline in a way, because I found it at a moment where I was extremely vulnerable and in a really dark place, so to speak, going through the process of, dealing with mental illness. And, at first I thought it was just another social media, with a new promise, but essentially just like the others. But just like you said in your majestically flowery language, which I really adore, you're grabbed by the collar of your spirit, and that, in a way, that's what happened to me as well. Because from the outset, I realized it wasn't anything like I had experienced before in terms of social media. I found a place where people were different. They were moved by a genuine intent of there's just a deep sense of humanity all over, and there's also quite a bit of Amity, in a way, like, starts from a place of not judging and respecting and trying to understand people first and foremost, regardless of their experiences, right, with their mental illness, and as well as a sense of that recovery is not only possible but also expected and encouraged, and it's a really powerful atmosphere in terms of it really gives you the subsidies, what you need, the substrate to flourish, especially people who are going through this kind of experience in which it's oftentimes something that really isolates them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That thing that trips so many of us up, because it's, in my opinion, its main objective is to get us all alone, or to feel as if we are all alone. And so I, can speak to everybody here. It's unanimous on the screen, at least, that, mental illness. And the thing that I grabbed, there was a grappling hook in that piece that we saw that just flew out of when it came out of the guy's mouth, it landed right here in the room with me. And that was the line wherein the kid said, I was living in a shame jungle. And I was like, boy. So here's what I had to say not long after I found my way inside this incredible opportunity known as Amity. Hello, friends. It's Lauren Michaels Harris, the host of Bathrobe Moments television show and the founder of the Powerfully Symposium. I am here today, though, to speak to you about something I've stumbled across in the last week or so. And boy, have I got something to share with you. I've always had issues, like many of us, dealing with my own mental wellness, my mental health, however you want to say it. But I've never felt comfortable really just talking with people I didn't know, or in many cases, even with people I did know. But now all of that confusion has been taken care of. There is a wonderful new social platform that you've got to test, got to go in and just check out for yourself. Amity. It is one of the best things I've ever encountered as far as being safe, feeling great, and also learning just from peeking in at what others are sharing about their own journey. So give yourself a chance. Do yourself a favor and check out Amity. You won't be sorry. See you later. So there you go. Mark, tell us about that tagline, Connecting Humanity for Well-Being. What's that all about?
Well, there's a within each of us, Lauren, is the seed of what we would call that part of us that knows the path for our full health and restored well-being. I would say that every human being knows that path, but they may not know it consciously. So we may need some support. So when we connect with other human beings and they're in a loving, encouraging environment, it creates kind of this healing space, an opportunity, if you will, for insights, intuition, however you want to phrase it, to really birth through relationship. Now, Carl mentioned something earlier that was the contrast to that of that we see in the world, right? He said when he came to Amity, it was a place of non-judgment. Well, if we're in a group of people and 5 of them are judging us for something we said or did, or maybe a label that we had been carrying, that's not creating a safe space for conversation, for connection. But when you step into a space like he had mentioned at Amity, where there's no judgment and we're really looking at the core of the human being, that now is sort of a lifeline for the soul to say,
That's
oh, wait,
there.
This person sees me. This person is honoring my humanity, my spirit. And now there's almost like an encouragement, to come out of hiding and say, hey, I'm here. And, thank you for seeing me. And the intuition that can light up from that could be very physical, very tangible. It could be to go see a different doctor, to try a different nutrient supplement, to start a new exercise regime, to make a meal for family and friends. I mean, it could be anything, but it's for you, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the world, when we deal with mental health challenges, often the answer is, hey, there are these 5 categories of medication. We're going to bounce you from one category to the next. And if none of those work, we'll do ECT or some other, really, more dramatic thing. with shock therapy that will be part of your protocol. It's like, well, who's seen the humanity in that? It's not that that stuff's bad. Medication's not bad, but if it's all that we're looking at, we're missing the opportunity to support someone in fully living.
Well, and it's never about just one thing. Nothing we live is ever about just one thing. And I for one, I definitely remember the first time I reached out for professional help for my chronic depression that I was dealing with. And it was right after, it was in the first, I'd say it started in the first 30 days, but I went in for help probably around day 90 of having found my birth family after 32 years of separation. And coming into that situation, a lot of cans, if you will, of worms were opened. The fact that, I had to, my adoptive family, talk about all the things that it meant finding them doesn't mean I'm leaving you. All the innuendo and rumors that had been in both families. He's dead, Oh, his birth mother was a prostitute and a whore, a drug addict. None of that stuff was true, but they was true inside my mind because I'd been hearing all these things. So all this stuff, and I was really suicidal. I'm telling you, and I went in, it was 10 minutes. I wasn't even in the place 10 minutes. Riverwood Mental Health Center in Benton Harbor, Michigan. And the guy, the psychiatrist, I'll never forget. It wasn't even 10 minutes. I just barely started telling the story. Well, I found my mom about a month and a half ago after. It was right about there. And he started writing on a prescription pad. I could see it from while I'm looking, because, I'm already paranoid. So I'm looking, and I'm like, what's that? And he said, a prescription, and went right back to writing. I was like, for who? He said, for you. I'm thinking, me? I ain't even told you what's wrong with me yet. I don't even know what's wrong. So I said, so what is it? And he goes, oh, lithium. You're depressed. And I said, well, okay, I agree with you on that, but what does it do and how long do I have to take it? He goes, well, it's different with every person. Google it, and you'll probably have to take it for the rest of your life. Before he could even put his pen back down, I was out and probably in the parking lot by then. Right, paid my little $60, and I probably threw it at her as I ran past the. I got the hell out of there because something in my spirit, in my soul, just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. It was like I was given no choice. So it was the choice for me then, this shame jungle thing, because now what happened was all the way home, I'm thinking lithium. So I'm at home Googling lithium and what kind of, am I paranoid? Am I schizophrenic? What's wrong? Am I bipolar? Am I going to be wandering the street dancing in a thong or something a week from now? I'm just saying. And what it really did for me was it made me go deeper inside my cave, my cavern of shame. And unfortunately, I still ended up medicating, but self-medicating. And there I was about 2 months after that, off and running into what would become a 14-year drug addiction. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about why is it such a shame, a shame jungle, as the kid said, for us to talk about mental illness. And Mark, throw some things out there. Is PTSD, is that a mental illness?
Well,
it qualifies as a mental illness. Who gets to decide?
Yeah, I think so the way we look at it is, and this is not from the medical vantage point, but we see that there's a continuum of health that everyone's on. We as every human being on the planet.
Okay.
So every human being on the planet has a continuum of their own mental health journey. And at one end of the spectrum, they're rocking it, and they're on, and life's going really, smoothly. And then as things come up in life, we've all had a global interruption in our regularly scheduled program for the last couple of years. And so that can throw someone into a state of disarray, right? And then the question is, do they have the tools? Do they have the ability to address the emotions and the thoughts and the fears and the distortions that may be coming up through that, and then move back quickly into their thriving state? Most haven't been taught those fundamental core principles and practice those tools. So what often happens is they spin around in that morass of distortion. And if it stays around for too long, what happens is they move a little bit further away from who it is that they truly are. And as they move further and further away, it becomes a lot easier for someone to say, well, hey, you have, and then you throw a bunch of labels on it. And one of the primary reasons for the label is it gives a common language. Like with bipolar, there are certain symptoms that are attributed to people with bipolar. And if a psychiatrist can understand, that someone's bipolar, there's a certain category of medications that are going to be their step one.
Correct.
Right. And, but that's at the end of the spectrum where someone's really struggling and they haven't had the tools, they haven't had the ability to kind of move back into that thriving state. So what we see is, let's not necessarily just say, well, you're bipolar, and then suddenly you need to be on this medication for the rest of your life, which is kind of the story that most of us hear. It's what I heard when I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
But the avenue to healing actually is about, like you said, a number of different things. It's, what are we putting into our bodies? Are we taking, do we have a literal imbalance of the chemistry in our bodies that could be addressed with nutrients, which is very common as a part of. But the other thing is, are we hanging on to a past trauma that we just haven't been able to really, have the strength or the ability, the encouragement to navigate in an effective way? And there's so many different ways of looking at it. But if we can start with just the continuum rather than the labels, we're all on the continuum. And maybe I'm way at one end of the spectrum one day and I'm at the other end, on another day. But what we want to do is recognize we're all on that continuum.
We all are. Everybody, because everybody's gone through something. All of us have had shit to deal with. That's all there is to it. And, certain people own it. Certain people, it's a monster under the bed, a boogeyman, and finally you get the courage to look under the bed and do something about it. It took me decades because I didn't know any better. The family I was raised in right now, it's just coming to the surface. 2 generations after mine, that the mental health thing in that family, it runs through the women like you don't know what, and they're dealing with it. And for many decades, I thought it was me. Carl, Mark mentioned about what we put in our bodies, and you were telling me the other day about gluten. How talk about how you found that out, that was one of the things that, go ahead, express all that for us. Tell us about that, how you found out that gluten was attributing to your mental illness.
Absolutely. Thank you, by the way, for this opportunity to address this, because it's really interesting. At least I find it interesting, the science behind it. So there's gluten is a protein, right, found in and derived from wheat, barley, and rye, right? And we know that over the years, in order to prevent, to increase the resiliency of the crops, right, there's been changes in the structure of these proteins and the quantity of these proteins as well in the wheat, in the crops, right? So it's people, especially more recent generations, have been increasingly reacting more and more to these compounds, because there are these changes that have been put into effect. They increase the inflammatory potential of these proteins.
Exactly.
Right?
Because we've all heard of people we've heard of people who are gluten free. Oh, I don't eat that. And I always thought it was just because of whatever it was, made them gout or whatever it led to, some physical thing. But I didn't think I would have never thought that gluten could feed into. Well, tell us, what's the scientific name for?
Well, Primarily, it would be called non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So you have the celiac people who are the ones who actually, the ingestion of gluten, over time triggers a reaction by the immune system that in turn destroys the lining of the gut, the villi, right? The the little structures, that the little hairs that absorb the nutrients. So the villi, the immune system basically cause the villi to undergo atrophy, and you lose the ability to absorb a lot of the nutrients. So it's oftentimes celiacs find they are celiacs because through a vitamin deficiency or something like that, because their gut progressively loses the ability to absorb specific nutrients. Famously, for instance, vitamin B12 and some other nutrients, magnesium and things like that, and all sorts of other nutrients. But something it's a more recent sort of an entity, a medical entity, or it's something called non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So it's been found, and it's already there are a few reports in the literature, and it's certainly it's massively underreported because oftentimes these people are treated exclusively as psychiatric patients for years. So non-celiac gluten sensitivity doesn't necessarily, although it might, but doesn't necessarily trigger any gut symptoms. So people, you're not going to suspect that you have a gut issue. So the gluten then triggers an immune attack, but in structures in the brain, more specifically the cerebellum, which is a structure in the brain that is responsible for, among other things, your motor coordination and also cognition, the way you articulate your speech and things like that.
So let me ask you real quick, because we got a lot of ground to cover, and I'm just So when you found out, let's go there. When you found out about this gluten thing, what did you put down instead of and you picked up, what was the exchange? Because they were trying to give you some medication, I'm assuming.
Oh my God, big time.
Really? One, multiples? How many?
When I was 20, from 22 to 24, I was on 5 psychiatric medications simultaneously, and 2 others to control metabolic issues like diabetes. So I was taking 7 drugs.
Today, how many are you on?
None. No psychiatric drugs.
None.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So see, right here, we're talking about things that live underneath that comforter known as shame. And I want to go in now and give the audience an opportunity to actually see what Amity looks like. Now, one of the things, Mark, back to you, I liked that when I first came in organically was that I noticed when I clicked on the heart, like I thought at Facebook or whatever was going to say love, and it says this, as you see on, did I share it with you guys yet? Can you see it?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. Down there.
It's tough to read, though.
Yeah, it says you have cheered this. Talk about that. Where's the thumbs up? Where's the wow and all that sort of thing? Why just the one emoji? And why is it saying you have cheered this? I have a feeling there's a reason.
Well, credit where credit's due. So Amity is built on a platform called Mighty Networks, and that is built into Mighty Networks. So if you, and the nice thing, more and more people are creating community on Mighty Networks because of things like that. They really thought through that really very, very well. But I agree. Isn't that a refreshing change from what we had been accustomed to?
Yes. Absolutely. Now, here's how it looks, you guys. I know it's pretty small for you guys, so I'm going to read it. Right here is, and I wanted to give you an example of organic engagement. So here's a girl named Dina Stewart who says, excellent video. I really like Steve Harvey. I have 2 questions. 1, what if you have 2 very real, very obvious gifts, and how do you combine those gifts to create one vocation? Then she has another question. So then people start going in and out. There's a lot of questions inside of here. There are polls inside of here. There's content for you to consider that is offered up. And one thing that I really like or love actually about Amity is that when you're in here, it's very respectful, first and foremost. But the thing about it is, I like the way my opinion is solicited. So, Carl, what's one of the things that you really find, on your top three about Amity? What's one of the things that really snaps it for you?
I'd say one of the things Mark was actually mentioned talking about it, about the journey, right, and the evolution. I think one of the great strengths of Amity is that people don't look at you as you were saying previously, as a label, as an ambulant label, right? So people are perceived as travelers on a journey of evolution, of growth, right? And this is really important because it allows for the possibility of transformation, of growth, and this growth can only come about, as Mark was saying, by nurturing what's already inside of us, right? Because it's like, in a way, all of us already have the cure or the antidote inside of us, right? But sometimes it's not even conscious, or we're not clear about it, or we haven't found our path, right? Of strengthening this inner sense of what's right for us, what's going to take us from where we are to where we need to be, right? By just having our essence as our beacon, right? So this is one of the great things about Amity. I think all of the interactions there, in a way, embody this to one extent or another. Something else I would say is the quality. I think, like, everybody there are on a journey, or their own journey. So Amity is like the fork in the road where all of the journeys intercept. And it's really powerful because it's like you can sort of glance at other people's journeys, and you can learn an insane deal from just by looking at how others are dealing with their own issues, how they've extricated themselves from, like, their own mazes, and third but not least, is the human dimension, the sense that, because, like, when you have a diagnosis, it's something so, it's ice cold, right? It's technical. It's and the pretentiousness that a diagnosis carries sometimes sort of stops you on your tracks and gives you a sense that nothing can be done about it. And, like, but that's false. That's clearly false. This perception that nothing can be done about it. So addressing, like, no matter what diagnosis or diagnoses you've gotten, you've collected along your journey, merely by merely addressing the human dimension, what you're actually feeling, how these things actually affect you, who are you, and who do you perceive you to be, and how do you think this thing is eating at your soul, or changing who you are? By merely addressing this dimension, this already in itself, it's so powerfully therapeutic, right? Because it's like, it's recognizing that you're not a label, and that you're a person who happen to fit into this label somehow, but it's not who you are. It doesn't reduce you. I think the danger, like perhaps the greatest danger of a psychiatric diagnosis is exactly it's lurking reductionistic the power, right? It has this ability to sort of shrink you into that diagnosis.
Mhm.
And Amity sort of blows that out of proportion and expands your consciousness to, makes you look farther and deeper. And that's so powerful because it makes you grow out of your diagnosis in a way. It shows you that it doesn't circumscribe who you are. It's not the totality of you.
Well, there it is. I know neither Mark nor myself want to follow that right now. So here's what we're going to do. We'll be right back. Get your questions and comments together. When we come back, I want to talk about how through Amity, I've met one of the best friends I have now in my world, and that's Carl on the screen. I would have never thought that I would find what I found in a place like social media. That and more when we return. Don't go away.
You fight again. And if you want my opinion, I let it take me away. Only relief is the four on the floor and the crowd that goes, oh, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, oh, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up.
And welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. Before we get our guests back in, just wanted to take just a quick second to tell you about one of my better choices. I decided to ditch all of the sugary drinks, specifically Diet Coke, and do better by picking up V8. I love it. It is 100% vegetable juice from concentrate, only 60 calories per can, and count them, 2 full servings of vegetables in every can. Easy peasy to find. Head down the juice aisle at your local grocer, and I guarantee you'll find it in my store. It's right next to the Kool-Aid juice boxes. So pop the top and do yourself a favor. Have a V8. Okay, let's get our guests back in. Oh, it's not illegal till I drink. Tastes just like candy. Okay. All right. They're back. So, welcome back, guys. The last little section here, I wanted to talk, if we could, about that shame blanket, that shame jungle, just that shame. What we each can possibly do. And I want us to speak from where you live with it. About what did you do with it? You know, if it were a garment, this shame, where was it? How long did you wear it? And where's it at today? Start with you, Mark.
Yeah, I would say that for me, shame was, and probably still is, the darkest of dark of emotional, jungle, foresty areas that took a bit. I mean, it took quite a bit. And some of you might relate to this, but one of the things that I discovered is I actually preferred to do things where I would feel guilt, because guilt was a softer version of the shame. And so I was in these patterns of behavior that were not in my best interest. Some people might call it self-sabotage, or just where my beeline to, my best self, would be this way, but I'd go over here just so I wouldn't have to cross the shame barrier to my best self. But once I was able to go into, that protective metric of guilt and allow for the shame to start to surface, it was quite a bit just to be with it. Just like we're being with each other. Like, what if we could be fully present and let what we call shame, come up? And it comes up with, the flashes of memories of the things that we might have done differently. It comes up with the, emotional, barrier where it's like, I'm not sure I even want to see what's on the other side of that. But by being with the emotion and letting that soften, suddenly the fear of what was on the other side, or the shame that, would come with looking at one of those dark spots, isn't as powerful. It loses control. And that's where we get to heal. That's where we get the opportunity to say, you know what? Yes, I did that thing. I, as you said earlier, ran outside in my thong and danced or whatever it was. And I did that thing, and it's okay. And that allows for us to see that maybe that was the best thing for us, the closest we could get at the time to taking an action that we thought was going to be good. But today we'd make a different choice, and to rest in, okay, here I am now. And what
do you still deal with shame, Mark?
I say less frequently. If it were a 10, 5-6 years ago, it's a 2. But to say that shame is non-existent would be a lie. I still kind of, bump into it in the night once in a while.
Okay. Carl, same question.
I can totally relate to what Mark just said. For me, you asked for how long I wore that robe. The greatest sort of the aha moment for me was actually acknowledging that I was frozen by shame, right? Because for the longest time, I couldn't even come to acknowledge that was what I was feeling, right? Because I think my departing point was when where I couldn't even admit to myself that I was feeling those things, because that would be the ultimate demise. Like, that would be the ultimate display of weakness. And that would be that's the no thing. That was the no thing, right? So as Mark said, just merely sort of wallowing, and not wallowing, but like basking in actually acknowledging what are you feeling, no matter, without like suspending the judgment, right? No matter if you think, if I thought it was ugly, despicable, whatever, but just merely, this for me was a complete breakthrough, because I was like, okay, I don't have to, I can feel without judging. Like, I can feel without, I can suspend the judgment and simply let myself be and feel and sort of know who I am deep down. And then what I realized by taking that first step was that once you do that, you're no longer at the mercy of what you feel, but rather the opposite. You sort of empower yourself to, you're no longer a slave to your emotions. And for me, that was the breakthrough moment in terms of actually, just not panicking, because I was feeling something that what I wasn't supposed to feel, that I wasn't meant to feel, or that's not nice, or that people don't look fondly at. Yeah.
Listen, I want to thank you guys for that, and thank you for your candidness, your vulnerability, your transparency. I want everybody to play along right now, so including you all out there. If you put a fist up like this, we're going to play a little quick thing. Put a finger up if what I say is something you can relate to. Either you've been touched by it, with someone in your front row seat, or yourself. Depression, If you've ever dealt with depression, put a finger up. A sense of paranoia. If you've ever dealt with that, put a finger up. A sense of deep abiding fear or panic. Put a finger up. If you ever felt like there was something wrong with you, something that could not be changed, in other words, cursed for one way, a reason or another, put a finger up. And finally, if you've ever considered, thought, or felt so dark that you were thinking, maybe I shouldn't even be in this world. Maybe I should take my own life. Suicidal thoughts. Put a finger up. So, not to say, look at all the people with anything about shame or whatever. What it means is, look at how similar we are, and now we know it because we've spoken about it with each other. Thank you for participating. If you want to drop in and be vulnerable, transparent out there, drop in the comments how many fingers you had when we finished that little practice right there. So thank you all for that. In conclusion, before we get out of here, I want to make sure that on the screen, you all see there at the bottom, Amity is an all-inclusive, safe place where members who desire sustained mental health connect and support each other. Together, we uplift and empower each other to thrive in life. Okay, if that's something you're interested in, then head over to the website. There it is, journeysdream.org/Amity. And you can get in, watch for a while if you'd like, start a profile like I did, and watch something spectacular happen that you never expected to happen, right? So I want to thank my guests today, Mark and Carl. Thank you both for being here and for being vulnerable and transparent. And I am so excited about my new friendship for life with you, Carl. And I just think you're just a brilliant person. You talk about the way I speak. I'm just enthralled when I listen to you tell your story and share your truths. And you out there, we are a part of a oneness. We are more alike than we could ever know. And we owe it to ourselves and to the world and to the legacy we will leave in this place called Earth. We owe it to that story to do our best as the 4 agreements dictate. So keep that in mind. Get out there, share your stories. Don't be afraid. Come from underneath the world of shame and all that goes with it. And let's heal. One story, one conversation, one cheer at a time. Okay. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful. Anybody got anything they want to say? We got 1 minute left. How about 30 seconds each? Mark, final thought.
Real quick, in addition to the community part on Amity, there are other resources. So we actually recently did a health summit with 40 of the top practitioners around that believe in full restoration to health. And the recordings of that are available under the resources tab. There's some additional things there to explore. So just wanted to share that as well.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. And that's at the same website?
Yeah. Just there's a resources button. You click that and you'll see some courses and opportunities to see the recordings.
Fantastic.
There's a little fee. Everything else is free, I think, but there's a little fee with the recordings if you wanted to watch those. Okay.
And well worth it, you guys. And Carl, anything as we get out of here?
I just want to seize this opportunity to say that it's an absolute honor for me. And as you said, I hold both of you guys in my heart, and it's been, Amity is forever part of my journey now. And to everybody who's listening out there, there's hope. There's definitely hope, and it's possible to recover, and you're not your diagnosis.
That's right. Woohoo! Couldn't have said it better myself. You guys, listen, tomorrow, join me out front at 8 a.m. on the front porch again, Central Standard Time. Tomorrow, our experts are back, all 4 of them, including our new one, Jamie Lane. So the Oracle of Apollo will be here, as well as Tim Chung and the Reset Coach, Tracy Randolph. I hope you'll join us as we encounter yet another opportunity for an illuminated conversation right here on Bathrobe Moments. Be blessed and be the blessing. See you guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind.